Hi everyone, I'm Pushpa. We're back at JLL Live in San Francisco from the floor of Disrupt CRE. And my next guest is Tom Poser, one of our executive vice presidents in our leasing group. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You focus a lot on tech companies, which is very appropriate that we're here in San Francisco. And
I do.
One of the things when we were doing a lot of talking about different kinds of experience that you have, something you said to me was about you help companies have success through failure.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, there's sort of an inevitability, if you will, of failure in technology. It's an innovative group of people. They try things, those things work, they have success. Oftentimes they try things, they don't work, and they fail. And there's a mantra in tech, which is fail fast. And
Okay.
the idea is, if this company is going to fail, if this idea is not going to work, let's find out quickly before we spend a lot of investor money, our own personal money. And so when you know that there's a high percentage chance of failure, this could be your first company, it could be your fifth. One of my clients found a great deal of success, has raised a tremendous amount of money, and has hired now several hundred people. It was his fifth company. And so he knew, well, we all know he failed 4 times. So in some industries, that failure is devastating and horrible.
Right.
In technology, it's just move on. What's next?
Yeah.
And so part of our job when you represent technology companies is not just to find them space. The space is somewhat secondary. The rent is often secondary. Those two things aren't as important as this long lease document. You've got a 120-page lease, and there's a lot of things that can trip you up in there. And if you're expecting fast growth, which most of these folks are, been anticipating the potential of fast failure as well.
Yeah.
You just have to build into these lease documents a number of protections for your clients.
Because you're not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but you're also trying to protect them in the chance
Sure.
that there is
Yeah.
sort of the bad side of this, right?
It's just risk mitigation. I mean, everybody's positive. It's inspirational. Working with these companies is fantastic because they're so excited. It's an amazing idea, and they're committed to it enough to hire 200 people and raise $40 million. So it's a very positive and enthusiastic and inspirational way to make a living helping these people. But oftentimes they go the other way, and you want to protect them in the event of these kind of occurrences happening to them. Oftentimes also, their growth projections are X, and their actual growth is 2X. So in that situation, everything's positive, but you might be stuck with a lease that is no longer suitable for what you're trying to achieve. So now you need 75,000 square feet instead of the 25,000 square feet you took previously. Well, part of our job then is to help either dispose of that 25,000, terminate on that 25,000, grow within the building potentially. And if you do all these things when those events happen, you're too late. So you really have to work on the front end to protect and mitigate and anticipate these things so that the client's in the best position possible.
So what are some examples? So you're talking about it's not just about rent, it's not just about signing a lease and getting to move into your space, right?
Right.
What are some of the things that people really should be looking out for, but by examples of what you've seen where they realized it at the time, and that's helped you better advise people, right?
Well, there's the kind of the financial piece, the economic piece, which is if you break this into buckets, there's what are you paying in rent? That's obviously one number that's important, but it's sort of a predictable number. There's comparables, there's asking rates, and so you kind of know ahead of time this band of negotiation you can do with rates, with rent.
And there's only so far you're going to get with that then, too, right?
Right. The market is the market, so
Right.
to speak. If it's a $75 market, your rent is going to be 71 to 75. Like, that's predictable. So a good broker can reduce that cost. But the real challenge, I think, is in what is the space delivered to you as? What's the condition? Is it completely furnished? Is it plug and play? Do they have offices? Or is it just like a cold shell that needs full construction? Then you've got the other financial piece of what tenant improvement allowance is given to you by the landlord. How much are they contributing to it? And then the most common mistake people make is they don't anticipate construction costs very well. So they get these estimates in their head, and they get these kind of email estimates that, oh, that space in that condition will probably cost $75 a foot to build out. So you negotiate a tenant improvement allowance of $50 a foot, and so your mental financial exposure is $25 per square foot. Now, if it's a 50,000 square foot space, that's a big exposure, but you know it. You
Right.
wrote it down, right? Your CFO is aware of it. But if that build-out cost jumps to 110, 115 a foot, that's a lot of money.
But why would it? I mean, if you've already thought about it ahead of time and
Yeah.
you're understanding, so what are they missing there?
Well, they're missing two pieces. One is the design. Have you fully vetted your design? And then have you priced that design? So this is why we bring in construction management
Because
experts.
we all have champagne tastes on a beer budget,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And if you started a company and love your company and you want to hire the best possible people, then you have to have incredible space. There's a war for talent in San Francisco.
Right.
And so you have to have
If you
gorgeous
haven't heard.
space. Right. Talent's expensive, real estate's expensive. And you got to get those two things right. And so CEOs get involved too late oftentimes and say, well, I really wanted 2 more private offices, a bigger boardroom, the reception over here. And now you're changing electrical, mechanical, plumbing, walls. And real quickly that number jumps by $20 a foot. And that's on you. That's the company only. So we had a really good example, a recent deal, where we just nailed all that down. We worked really closely with the designer, really closely with the contractor to get the bid, the real pricing. And we worked really closely with the real estate lawyer to make sure that the client was fully protected. And when costs did jump, and they did jump dramatically, there was this whole conversation, and we looked at the lease, and all that cost fell back on the landlord. It was a delivery issue, not a construction issue. So it was a very close call, and it could have gotten very ugly for our client. And we did that upfront work and protected him, and it paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other war stories you got for us? I feel like there's a lot to learn for people. I mean, before you're
Yeah.
jumping into space, and you know, people are excited about what they're doing, and they can see this coming, and as a, you know, this is going to be their baby, right?
Yeah.
But what else can they do to protect their baby?
Well, hire right, and that sounds selfish because I want obviously folks to hire, you know, JLL and me, and of course, but you have to hire the right professionals, and I think you have to ask the right questions to whatever real estate broker you hire, whatever city you're in. You got to ask the questions about. It's not just years in, it's not client, it's not square footages, it's the nuts and bolts, the hard stuff. Like, explain to me how I negotiate a right to terminate. What are the penalties associated with that right to terminate? How do I negotiate a lease that allows for maximum flexibility, either to reduce in size or a right of growth on the building going forward? Moving is expensive, and oftentimes these companies take space, super happy, immediately they need to grow, and already are looking for new space. Well, if the building doesn't accommodate that, you're in a tight spot.
Right.
Technology companies don't want to be in high rises typically, although that's changing through great interior design. But the value to being in a high rise is there's multiple floors to grow on, flex up, flex down. I mean, I've had a client sign a lease for 8 floors, and then within 2 weeks, renegotiate that lease back down to 2 floors.
You're kidding.
And then eventually, one by one, take all 8 floors back. And if you're not careful on the front end, that's a very expensive endeavor.
Yeah, you don't have that flexibility, or it comes at a very high price.
Well, in real estate and tech don't match up well, which is sort of the growth of shared office space. That kind of led to that. Venture capitalists, if they can get 3 out of 10 bets right, they're huge success. If real estate investors get only 8 out of 10 right, they failed. They've turned the keys back to the bank. And so real estate wants 10-year leases, high credit, high security deposits, stability. Technology tenants want 1-year leases, 2-year leases, full construction build out, the ability to grow and shrink within the building. Because that's how they work on headcount, that's how they work on hardware, that's how they work on software in the cloud. And so there's one little component they can't build that flexibility, which is real estate. And so that's a big challenge. And we know, we all agree ahead of time when we start this process, we know that their headcount projections will be wrong. Every single technology company misses their headcount projection. Now, it could be high, it could be 2x, it could be half
It's because of the fast pace, though, right? And you don't know which direction things are going to go in,
Sure.
or if they're going to double or reduce in half, right?
And it happens both directions very quickly. We had a client take down a significant amount of space here in Soma. They raised a bunch of money. They brought in a new CFO. They lost a couple accounts, and so they decided to reduce headcount. So they went from small to big to medium, and now they're navigating their way into the next round of funding and next round of headcount projections. And there's no point in being disappointed or concerned about these things. This is just the way business works. If you get the key accounts, you grow headcount. Is it better to hire people ahead of time, salespeople, biz dev people, marketing people, prior to even being profitable?
Right.
So they're wrestling with these decisions all the time. And it's just the least flexible one is real estate, of all their kind of daily decisions to make. And so the more we can help them increase flexibility and protect the company, the better off they are.
And what are some of the things that excite you? What are some of your, newer things or more of the things that actually are really making a difference for some of the tech companies in what they're doing here?
You mean on the technology side, or? Well, I only represent tenants, and I feel super fortunate to have some amazing clients, right? Like some of their technologies impress me more than our technologies. I would say we're slow. Real estate's a little slow. We're working on it. We're here. We're trying.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're here at Disrupt CRE, right? And
Right.
not just Disrupt Tech, because those are the ones that are coming in and changing it and opening eyes for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the collaboration has increased. Our profession used to be sort of, we know where the spaces are and you don't, and so you need to hire us to find you those spaces. And those days are kind of gone. If you have the time and energy, you can go online and find 95% of the available spaces.
Right.
There's this shadow
And you can
market.
do that at Friday midnight when you finally have a chance to focus on something that's not your core business, too, right?
So as a broker who sees this disruption occurring to my industry, I focus way more on customer service and industry intelligence. Like, I want to differentiate through expertise. So all these other things we talk about,
Right.
these protections, risk mitigation, even the economics of negotiation, I want to be an expert in those things so that I'm seen as valuable and not disruptible, right? So our ability to collaborate with our clients is, they're demanding it, and we're starting to be able to supply it. And so that's some technologies around not just shared drives, not just shared folders, but their ability. We have some technologies where the client can go in and eliminate spaces, leave notes for like requests, check the box. This means my broker
Makes
has
it more fun
responsibility.
too for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To take this tedious process of, it's not just about getting the best rent and being able to move in as quickly as possible, but it actually helps them through it as well, right?
Yeah, and it gives a level of transparency. So oftentimes, like I've hired real estate brokers for the residential side, and you don't really know what's going on over there. Like, what are they doing? We don't even know what they're doing, but here comes a report. Like, I have a whole lot of faith that this report is all the properties and accurate. So giving them visibility and transparency into that is helpful. They appreciate it, certainly. They become a part of the process. It's really cool. This has happened a bunch now. This has probably happened to me 7 times. You'll have an office manager for a tech company, and that office manager is always a super responsible person and accountable. And so the CEO who's raising money and building a business doesn't have time for real estate. So, hey, you're responsible, you're accountable, take care of it. And that office manager now, instead of just being an office manager, is now running a real estate process. And they get fired up. And part of that real estate process is construction and negotiation. It's a totally different profession than what they're in. And so I've had probably 5 to 7 office manager clients after closing the deal go back to their original job and realize this is not as exciting. And so they become real estate experts.
You help recruit into our industry, and now they're talented with experience because they just did it all themselves, right?
And they can either come into our industry or they can go to another technology company that's raising money and going, you need me, and here's why. I just helped this company do all these things you're about to go through. Because the real estate process requires 45, 50 things to happen along the way between searches and tours and negotiations. And tech startup CEOs, even 42 of 45 of those are simple things, they've never done it before.
Right.
So they need someone on board full time. So it's nice. It's nice to see the success. It's nice to go to the office launch party when they move in.
Right.
So it's just a nice way to make a living.
Well, and we also appreciate it because the whole success through failure, right? I mean, you've seen a lot of what happens, and the tech companies, they're used to this in the industry, but you're helping them make sure that they are protected and that all scenarios are covered. So we appreciate that, and thanks for sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We have a quick marketing video for you around property marketing and the tools that are used. And then we're coming back with Stephen Hopkins, our co-host, to talk a little bit more about Real Liquidity and his company and what they do and how they're one of the disruptors that are here today. We'll be right back.